Have you ever walked away from a conversation with more questions than answers? While everyone else seemed satisfied, your mind kept digging deeper, wondering why things happen the way they do. If that sounds familiar, you may have a mind driven by curiosity, not because you know more than others, but because your brain is always searching for the next piece of the puzzle. And psychology suggests that this way of thinking comes with some fascinating traits. Curiosity isn't simply about collecting random facts or having endless hobbies. In psychology, it's closely connected to a personality dimension called openness to experience, which reflects a person's willingness to explore new ideas, perspectives, and possibilities. Curious people don't just want information, they want understanding. They often find themselves fascinated by topics that seem completely unrelated, only to discover surprising connections between them later. Whether it's psychology, history, science, nature, books, or a simple conversation with a stranger, almost everything becomes an opportunity to learn something new. But this constant search for meaning also brings unique challenges that many curious people quietly experience. The first psychological trait is an unstoppable need to understand why. Most people are comfortable accepting simple explanations, but highly curious minds rarely stop there. They naturally ask follow-up questions because surface-level answers don't satisfy them. If someone says, "That's just how it is," curiosity quietly whispers, "But why?" This isn't about being argumentative. It's about reducing uncertainty. Cognitive psychology suggests that curiosity is often triggered when our brain detects a gap between what we know and what we want to know. And that gap creates a feeling almost like mental tension, pushing us to search for answers. You might notice this in yourself when you pause a documentary to research a topic, spend hours reading after discovering one interesting fact, or suddenly find yourself learning about ancient civilizations after watching a video about space exploration. The second trait is seeing connections that other people miss. Curious minds naturally collect information from many different places, and over time, those pieces begin fitting together in unexpected ways. A conversation about music might remind you of neuroscience. A walk through nature might make you think about human behavior. Reading history might suddenly help you understand modern society. This ability isn't magic, and it doesn't automatically mean someone is more intelligent. Instead, curiosity encourages the brain to build richer mental networks, making it easier to recognize patterns across different experiences. This is one reason curious people often come up with creative solutions. They're combining ideas that don't usually appear together. The third trait is learning through everyday life instead of waiting for formal education. For highly curious people, almost anything can become a classroom. A random podcast, an old photograph, a conversation with a grandparent, or even watching birds in a park can spark genuine fascination. Modern psychology describes this as intrinsic motivation, the desire to learn because the process itself is rewarding. These people don't always need external rewards to stay engaged. They simply enjoy discovering how the world works. This explains why some people happily spend an evening watching documentaries, reading psychology books, exploring scientific discoveries, or learning about cultures they've never visited. Their curiosity turns ordinary moments into opportunities for growth. The fourth trait is remarkable mental flexibility. Life constantly changes, and curiosity helps people adapt instead of resisting those changes. Rather than seeing uncertainty as something to fear, curious individuals often see it as something to investigate. When faced with a challenge, they are more likely to experiment with different approaches instead of giving up after the first failure. Cognitive scientists often describe this as flexible thinking, the ability to adjust beliefs, strategies, and perspectives when new information appears. Imagine two people losing their jobs. One becomes trapped by fear, while the other begins asking, "What new skills can I learn? What opportunities haven't I considered?" Curiosity doesn't remove difficulty, but it creates room for possibility. The fifth trait is perhaps the most misunderstood. Curious people often struggle to switch their minds off. The same curiosity that fuels learning can also create information overload. One question leads to another, then another, until hours disappear. Many curious people find themselves overthinking conversations, researching topics late into the night, or feeling mentally exhausted because their brain refuses to stop exploring. Psychology recognizes that curiosity has both benefits and costs. While it encourages lifelong learning and creativity, it can also make it difficult to feel mentally satisfied. Sometimes there is no perfect answer, yet the curious mind keeps searching anyway. Learning when to pause becomes just as important as learning when to explore. If you recognize yourself in these traits, it doesn't mean you're destined to know everything, and it certainly doesn't mean your mind is flawless. It simply means your curiosity may be one of the forces shaping the way you experience the world. Every question you ask opens another door, every discovery changes the way you think, and every new perspective expands your understanding of yourself and others. So don't be afraid of your endless questions. Just remember that growth doesn't come from having all the answers. Sometimes the greatest strength of a curious mind is having the courage to keep asking.